I'm more on the conspiratorial side, where I'm like, all the signals that I've seen so far is that the powers that be will not allow Donald Trump to be in the White House again.
Not
so
even with his capitulation?
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe that could be a game changer. But I will say that all the signals for the last 4 years have been that all the most powerful people are telling you this guy will not be allowed to be in the White House again. And those people have a lot of power. You bet against the CIA, you usually don't win.
You think some mail-in ballots or something worse?
I mean, what have we seen already? I mean, I don't know what the next step above this is. But I certainly think that, like, it is, listen, whatever, man. I don't want to say anything that could get anyone's channel in trouble. So I'll just say, like, in hypothetical.
Say it and we'll cut it.
Okay, so in hypothetical.
Or do you want us to cut it, or are you just going to?
No, you can I'll try to say it in the best. Let's just say, like, I was reading this novel the other day.
There we go.
About this crazy, corrupt country that totally changed the way they did elections on the year that the guy that they didn't want to win was up for re-election. And it just seems a little bit suspicious, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. Yeah, you guys decide. I don't know what the latest YouTube rules or whatever for this are. I don't know what I'm allowed to say. But I don't know anything, but I definitely have my suspicions about what they would do. And I don't think it would be that hard for them to do that.
My question was going to be, how accurate do you think Trump was in 2020 saying rigged, stolen, blah, blah, blah?
Okay, so I'll say it like this, right? So I've read a lot about like U.S. sponsored colored revolutions, you know, which is like where they're basically like these CIA operations, and they've done them in like Serbia, and Ukraine, and what they'll do is basically everything they did in 2020. Yeah. It's almost like down to a T. Like everything from like they get protests in the streets, which remarkably they are able to control in a way that is like really wild to me. But it is amazing how like that whole BLM protest thing, it's amazing how quickly the Democrats could turn that off. As soon as Joe Biden's back in there, it's like, well, that's off. You're not on the streets anymore. Nope. And in the middle of COVID, when they were telling everyone to stay inside, they just sent all the signals out. You're allowed to go out now if you're doing this protest thing. There was big money people who were bailing out the worst of the rioters. Like these people would be getting arrested nightly, and they'd be raising money to like bail them out. I believe Kamala Harris even donated to one of these organizations. Double check me on that if I'm right on that. But regardless, then there was like the media campaigns against the guy, the lockdowns being prolonged even way past when it was obviously like unnecessary and not mitigating the virus. I think a lot of that was kind of to tank the economy. There was mass censorship in 2020 of pro-Trump influencers, just anything, just getting kicked off. And then they totally overhauled the way we do voting with no real mechanism to like verify that these cards were coming from the right places. And so I don't know, looking at all of that, after Trump lost, I could understand why any one of his supporters would be like, you know, this was not fair, especially after they had framed him for treason. And the whole Russiagate thing was completely made up, dude. It was all based off lies. The total deep state, like, psyop is not true at all. It was totally laughable that Donald Trump was in a conspiracy with the Russians. Just bullshit. And so now, Donald Trump, in Trumpian fashion, had no idea how to wield power or how to combat this, so he just bitched and moaned about it, and then he sent his lawyers out to like be like, we have proof, and then every time they went to court, they just got thrown out of court because they had nothing. You know, they had nothing other than what I just said. Like, they're like it was just like being there, like, no fair. This whole thing's no fair, and the judge would be like, around here we need evidence. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just come into court and go no fair. But looking at all that stuff, you're like, I mean, it's clearly like, you know,
a lot of circumstantial evidence.
And you could just look at it and be like, look, they're clearly like kind of setting this whole thing. How far did that actually go? I have no idea. I'm not going to say anything about any of those voting companies. I don't have that money to pay those lawsuits. But I also don't know. I'm not trying to say anything more than I know, but I'm like, you know, you could look at this and be like, it does seem like it's not beyond the realm of possibility. And the weird thing, like with all the stuff we were talking about, like the way Donald Trump, which has always been one of the most fascinating things about him to me, is the way he triggers left-wing people, like the reaction that he gets out of them is so enraging that it's like blinding them to anything else. So I've never really liked Donald Trump. He's never been my style.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Just a million things about him I don't like. But I was never so enraged by him that I couldn't be like, oh, this is a kind of fascinating moment right here.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's running against the system and winning. And so it was almost like a lot of those left-wing people, they were just so like, oh, I hate Donald Trump. They were like, well, he's a Russian agent. They're like, that's right, he's a Russian agent. You know, they'll just jump on whatever the anti-Trump narrative is, they'll jump on it. And then they'll be like, hey, you know, that was the CIA who told you that. And you know, left-wing guy, you're not supposed to like the CIA.
Yeah.
Since when do you like the CIA? Like, there's just no more even critical thinking. So it's like, you don't have to like Donald Trump to look at this and go like, it does seem like there's something going on here. Yeah.